Good afternoon. Welcome to Midcap Radar. I'm Sonal Putra. With me is Hormaz, and it's a deep shade of green that we are looking at today. 350 points higher on the Nifty. Midcaps are participating, but in a market like this, we are seeing the midcaps are underperforming the benchmark. So that's the kind of moves that we are seeing. But a lot to discuss on the show.
A deep shade is not something that we have associated with green over the last couple of weeks. But yes, if there was an example of ending the week on a high, the markets are surely giving us that example as of now. So let's take a look at the headlines that we have at 1:30 this afternoon. The markets extend their gains to the highest point of the day. The Nifty rises above 23,700, while the Sensex is also up over 1,100 points. All sectoral indices are in the green. The mid-caps, as Sonal just said, are underperformers.
Raj Industries shares jump over 8% as the company aims to triple its revenues by 2030. The company is eyeing annual revenues of 10,000 crore rupees as it bets big on the clean energy opportunity.
Protein eGov is under pressure with the National Stock Exchange set to sell its 20% stake via an offer for sale. The stock is down nearly 9% in a roaring market.
Info Edge shares surge nearly 4.5% after Goldman Sachs upgrades the stock to a buy from a sell rating and raises the target price to 8,600 from 5,700.
And Soba is up nearly 6.5% after HSBC retained its buy rating with a 2150 price target. The brokerage said that Soba is poised for strong growth after its recent rights issue and improved cash flow.
Okay, all right. So those are the top headlines. The markets, they are in the Friday mode. Our studio is in the Friday mode. So all of us looking forward to the weekend. Look at that. The Nifty is up 335 points right now. It's a one-way move that we've been able to see today. The mid-caps up around 500 points. There's good contribution coming in from banking names as well. The Sensex sitting with gains of around 1.5%. And I think all the sectoral indices, they are in the green right now with PSU Banking Index, that taking the charge. Of course, media is in the red, but if you look at the sectoral moves as well, after especially what we saw yesterday, day before yesterday, where there was a big fall from the highs, so it has come in as a good Friday cheer and something that was not largely expected today.
Fans of Kaun Banega Crorepati would say pehla padav, dusra padav. The first stage was the fact that they had to cross the 200 DMA. The Nifty has done that. Now the second padav is the fact that they have to cross Tuesday's high, which is 23,781, and that is the level you'll have to keep an eye out for on the index. But the mid-cap index is up 1%, but still in comparison to the Nifty is a relative underperformer. Plenty of movers in the broader markets, and Vamakshi is here to take us through all of those. Vamakshi, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Hormaz. Yes, the markets are cheering, and when we look at the top gainers, we have MRPL surging in trade. Raymond is another name that is up and away in the trading session today. Paytm has touched an intraday high in the last 11 months. KEI Industries too is seeing a surge of almost 6%. SJVN, there's a news flow out here. They will be developing renewable energy projects in Rajasthan. The stock is up and away in the trading session today. But apart from that, we also have a couple of stocks that are seeing a bit of pressure. Protein eGov Technologies is down nearly 9% on the back of NSE Investment selling nearly 20% stake in the company. Torrent Power too seeing some bit of a pressure, down nearly 5%. Ratnamani Metals, Bharti Hexacom and Honasa has made it to this list on every day of this trading week, and the stock continues to trade lower. In fact, it is at a record low now. But apart from that, there are some IT stocks that are buzzing in trade today. We're looking at Emphasis, Birla Soft, as well as Oracle Financials. All of these counters are anywhere up between 2 to 3%. There are a couple of stocks that are gaining momentum on the back of strong volumes as well, and this list includes Sun Pharma, Advanced Research, that is Spark, it's up nearly 8%. Soba again on the back of a brokerage note, up nearly 5%. Kansai Nerolac as well as Vijaya Diagnostic are some other stocks that are gaining momentum driven by very strong volumes. And lastly, let's focus on two stocks that are in focus on the back of very strong news flow. Praj Industries, the management has highlighted that they are looking to triple their revenues by 2030. The stock is up nearly 9%, while SCI, the central government has listed 3 new shipping bills for the winter session of the parliament, and that is the reason why the stock is up nearly 4.7%.
Okay, all right. Some interesting names there. Thank you so much, Vamakshi, for joining in. Have a great weekend ahead. I'm sure all of us are looking forward to that. But it's a good time to welcome Himeen Kaparia from DR Choksi FinServ for a technical check on the markets. Himeen, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in today. What are the next levels that we are watching out for, and some stock-specific action that you're looking at as well?
A very good afternoon to you, Sonal. Thank you for having me on the show. Such a pleasure. In terms of levels, there was a head and shoulder target of around 23,229 zonal, which was almost achieved yesterday. Missed it by 30 points. That's okay on the scale. A small intraday swing high comes in at around 23,731 zonal. That's where we are going to face a little bit of bout of resistance. But to take a slightly bigger move, we peaked at 26,277. We went to 23,263. So that's almost 3,000 points only. So if we were to take one step at a time, like I said, 23,371 is the first headache, the padav that you were mentioning about, then you have 24,000. So there are the couple of the levels. But if you were to retrace this whole fall, which is a possibility, as of now, we are looking at a very short-term view, assuming a small bottom is falling into place. I think we could have seen a short-term bottom yesterday, and there could also be probably onset of a much delayed, deeply oversold rally from a 3,000 point fall. So fingers crossed. It's just baby steps as of now. The VIX is still at 16. Bitcoin is closer to all-time highs. There are a few things need to set in place, but I have a feeling downside does appear limited for the first time in quite some time. And yeah, things are looking good. In terms of individual stocks, Sonal, two stocks which I picked up. The first one is Hindustan Unilever, deeply oversold, off from 3,000 plus to sub 2,400. Downside appears limited. Positive divergences, crossover buys. A bounce is what you're playing for. So one can buy HUL at 24.15, stop loss 23.65, target of 25.15, risk reward ratio 1:2. Second stock logic is almost the same, Sonal. A buy on Tata Motors, virtually fallen off a cliff from 1180 to 760, deeply oversold. It's forming a base. A turnaround is clearly around the corner, a shorter term one. All the oscillators have given a buy after multiple rounds of positive divergences. So without getting too technical, a buy on Tata Motors at 784, stop loss of 760, and a target of 832. So
100 points up on the Nifty, limited downside, a buy on an underperforming HUL, possibly everything that the bulls wanted to hear. Hemant, thanks a lot for spending time and joining us today with your views on the index and specific stocks as well. Time for a short break. The management of Cosmo First joins us on the other side to discuss the road ahead. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Midcap Radar. Let's talk about Cosmo First. Recently reported their Q2 numbers. It was a good set. They saw their revenue rise 14%, while EBITDA surged 41% on a YY basis. To discuss this and more, we are joined by Neeraj Jain, Group CFO at Cosmo First. Neeraj, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in. Well, is it fair to say now that the cycle is turning into the positive terrain now, and there will be a sustainable growth going forward? What are the realizations looking like? Have they seen an uptick on a YY and on a quarter-on-quarter basis? And does this phenomenon continue?
So good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. As you rightly mentioned, of course, there is a uptick in the margins for the BOPP and BOPET, both different. But having said so, what is also working favorable for us is the growth in the specialty film. In the Q2, we have reached 70% of our volume coming from the specialty film, which has grown 13% on a year-on-year basis. So which is working very well for the company. For the BOPP and BOPET spread also, there's an uptick of between 30 to 40% because the demand-supply gap which got created in FY24 is getting bridged, and we are optimistic about the margin going forward.
Neeraj, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in. If you're optimistic about the margins going forward, could you share a figure as to where do you expect to year the end with? The first half, your margins stood at around 8.9%. Do you see to end the year by double-digit margins? And also, if you can share a picture of the volume growth going forward.
Well, in principle, although we do not provide any guidance, but overall what I can share is, if we look at first half of the financial year, we have already doubled the PAT level compared to last year. And I do not see any reason why it should not replicate in the second half of the year.
Okay, so you will be able to see doubling of PAT even in the second half. So you can say safely that 150 crore rupees of PAT is something which is doable in this year?
Well, no specific number, but yes, broadly the things are looking positive.
Okay, so was this improvement led just by realization improvement, Neeraj, or did you see volume growth as well? If you asked how much was it in quarter two, and as my colleague asked, what is the number that you're looking? If not a specific number, is it high double digits, high single digits? What is it that you're looking at?
So there's a volume growth, of course, beside the margin growth. But having said so, the margin is working more favorably because of the specialty sales growth. Having said so, our new businesses, whether the specialty chemical or the rigid packaging, all are taking shape now. Specialty chemical has reached high teens EBITDA level and more than, in fact, 30% return on capital employed. Beside this, rigid packaging vertical is also doing fairly well. We have reached 100 crore rupee of the run rate of the top line, which we expect to close the year close to 150 crore rupee of the run rate top line.
So was this improvement led only by the specialty sales, or was it a mixture of commodity sales and specialty sales? And if you could share a mix, the split between the two, and do you expect to sustain that number in the second half as well?
So 70% of the sales came from the specialty in the quarter two, which is working favorably. So beside this also, as you said, from the mix perspective, it is favorable. And beside this, the other businesses are also helping. Having said so, if you look at the part of the growth is coming from the volume, part is coming from the higher specialty sale, and part is coming because of the uptick in the base commodity BOPP from margins.
Got it. Take that point. So that's about your films business. Let's talk about the pet care business, because that is something that you're bullish on as well. What was the GMV, the monthly GMV that you saw? Will it improve in the second half? And have you broken even here?
Well, Ziggly is taking very well shape. So if you look at the quarter two, we have focused on two particular aspects. One is the vet services. We wanted to make Ziggly more focused towards the services. And second is we have launched a couple of private labels. So these two factors are helping us a lot. We have already reached close to 4 crore rupee of the monthly GMV. And yes, I mean, although break-even EBITDA is not yet achieved, but we feel that it's not very far off. Between 150 to 200 crore rupee of the top line, we should be able to achieve the break-even EBITDA for the Ziggly operation.
Well, and is that possible in the second half of the year, Neeraj? And the last time you spoke to us, you had mentioned that Ziggly was growing at the month-on-month rate of 7%. What has been the month-on-month growth rate this time around?
The month-on-month growth definitely remains broadly in the same direction. Having said so, second half of the year, break-even for the Ziggly may not be possible, but it should happen in maybe next 2 years' time.
All right, that's about Ziggly. Let's talk about the specialty chemical subsidiary. How big is it in terms of size? Because you spoke about it in quarter one that you will be commercializing multiple chemistries, including adhesives, coatings, master batches as well. How much EBITDA is coming just from specialty so far? And how do you look at it contributing going forward?
So specialty chemicals business for us is close to 200 crore rupee of the top line, if I look at the run rate. And it's high teens EBITDA, and as I said, 30% plus return on capital employed. In the medium term, we see this business taking shape close to 500 crore rupee of the top line business. If you look at the Cosmo overall, one is the flexible packaging is growing because we are adding close to 40-45% new capacity, which should commence operation from the next financial year. One is this. And on the second hand, the other new business verticals are growing rapidly. So we are fairly optimistic for the growth of all these verticals. What we are looking at in the medium term is maybe 20% of the top line coming from new business vertical and 80% come from flexible packaging.
You know, Neeraj, since you mentioned Ziggly will break even in the next 2 years, it would have grown substantially on the top line front by then as well. So what do you see the business 2 years down the line in terms of its mix? How would you divide that between packaging, specialty chemicals and pet care over the next 2 years? How do you see that going forward?
Well, Ziggly, as we said, I mean, break-even should happen close to 150 crore rupee plus of the top line. We are aspiring to reach at that number maybe in 2.5 years or so. The other businesses taken together, as I said, today it's close to 10% of the top line. What we see these businesses to take this share maybe 2 years down the line, 20 to 25% of the top line should come from the new business verticals, including Zigli, and 80% remains flexible packaging business.
Okay, take that point, Neeraj. Seems the street is liking what you're saying. The stock is spiked to the day's high. It's up 3% right now. So positive commentary coming in and some improvement that we're seeing after some quarters of losses at the EBITDA level because of what was happening in the packaging business. With that, we'll slip into a break now. When we come back, we'll talk about markets and stock-specific action on the other side. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome back. Almost 400 points now on the Nifty. 23,735 is where the index is, and now it's 23,745 as we speak. At the highest point of the day for the index has turned positive for the week as well. And pull up Paytm, and that is now 7% higher at the highest point of the day, and also the fifth straight day of gains for Paytm, nearing a 52-week high of 927 that the stock had made in November of last year. A 20% move in the last 5 days is what Paytm has seen. So good going for that. The PSU Bank index, which was the top laggard in yesterday's trading session, is the top sectoral gainer in today's trading session, recovering all the losses that it had made in yesterday's trade. Now 3.5% higher for the PSU Bank index. The realty index continues to move from strength to strength, another 3% higher for the Nifty realty index, and the IT index too trading with gains of 2%. But speaking of IT, Info Edge is the other one that's buzzing in today's session after an upgrade that came in from Goldman Sachs. Vamakshi is joining in with more on this. Vamakshi.
Well, Hormaz is a massive upgrade, right, that has come through from Goldman Sachs on Info Edge. They've gone ahead and upgraded their rating from sell to buy, and in fact they've gone ahead and also increased the target price on Info Edge from 5,700 to 8,600 rupees per share. The brokerage highlights that the rationale behind it is that they believe that the demand environment for India's IT sector is incrementally improving. Resultantly, they're expecting the recruitment segment's revenue to grow at a much faster pace as compared to what we've seen in the past. They're expecting 16% CAGR from FY25 to 28 as compared to 8% that they're expecting from FY23 to FY25. As far as some of the company's other segments are concerned, they're expecting 20% revenue growth outlook for 99 acres, and they also believe that the 99 acres could actually break even by calendar year 25 given its scale as well as stable competitive intensity. They are also bullish on Zomato, which accounts for nearly 33% of Info Edge's market cap, and they see upside risk to both the multiples as well as the estimates for the company. So that is the rationale behind Goldman Sachs upgrading their rating on Info Edge, and resultantly the stock is surging in trade today.
Okay, yes, it's up around 6.5%. Thank you so much, Vamakshi, for bringing us all those details. With that, we'll take your leave on this edition of Midcap Radar, but stay tuned, your stocks when we return.